None of this comes from judgment. It comes from experiencing. Experiencing something creates insight, and I hope that these do's and don'ts serve as that. That sounds like something my pops would say to me right before I would hear what I took as judgment. And it was amazing because when he would tell me the do's and don'ts of life, I would tighten up. I would get into defense mode, and I would start to defend myself and start to justify myself because he was telling me the do's and don'ts, and I took them as judgment. Now, on the flip side of it, if I took it as insight, it created a looseness in me. It gave me freedom. It gave me the ability to be able to walk into something and have the freedom because I had insight in that scenario and not be afraid of it. And as I went down today in Proverbs 23, it allows us to choose how you take it. And see, I would suggest insight. These Inchstones that we go through, which is the corresponding proverb for the corresponding day, we're looking back on 3,000-year-old wisdom, and we're just looking at how it can apply to today. And we study 3,000-year-old wisdom because it has lasted the test of time. So it's your choice today. Will you take the do's and don'ts that we talk about and take them as judgment, or will you take them as insight? Defense, tightening up, and justification, or freedom to be able to walk in your aligned purpose? You choose. Let's get this party started.
Nothing more on my mind. I got to shine, so every day I grind. Work in the morning, work in the evening. We's achieving, cause we believing. It's for certain, we put the work in. We ain't stopped just because it's hurting. Right before your eyes, so it's coming to no surprise. The takeover is televised. Over and over and over again. Make no mistake, we continue to win. Defeat never know, cause I will not lose. They wanna mimic my moves, but can't walk in my shoes.
Proverbs 22. This is Inchstones. If you're just tuning in for the first time, we go through the corresponding proverb, corresponding day, and we're working on Proverbs 23 because it's the 23rd of the month. It's interesting, too, because in Proverbs, what we were talking about in with our men's group the other day was that the first 10 chapters of Proverbs is the niceties. It's the features and benefits of wisdom. Then it goes through and talks about the warning us against silliness. And then it goes in, from 10 to 20, that's the warnings of silliness. And that's just the absence of wisdom. And then it goes in, and it's very, very strong, like a cause and effect. From 21 through 30, it talks about, like, these are the things that if you do them, these things are going to happen. And then in 31 is the payoff. And what I learned was 31 being Proverbs 31. And when you look for a Proverbs 31 woman in our life, it could be amazing. This is what my mom prayed for me for years and years. And I thought that she was so crazy with it. But Proverbs 31 was literal and metaphorical. So it was talking about a Proverbs 31 woman. But if you replace that with Proverbs 31 culture, Proverbs 31 business, Proverbs 31 friendship, these are things that when you read Proverbs 31, and I would invite you to do so, you'll look at all the traits and all of the things that are in line with that 31, which is the payoff. But here's the caveat. You have to follow all 30 of the first Proverbs to be able to sustain the thing that, the Proverbs 31 woman or the Proverbs 31 business or the Proverbs 31 friendship. So this study has been absolutely amazing. My wife had an idea when I started when I started recording Inchstones. She said, "Why don't you create a playbook, if you will, or a workbook that a person could go through and they could work through it with you?" Well, from her idea, a year and a half of work, 30 years of study, and a relentless pursuit of wisdom, We created something that for you in 15 minutes a day, I'm holding it up right now. If you're listening on Apple, you won't see it, but you can see it in the link in the bio. I'm holding it up where it takes you through and it has the corresponding proverb, corresponding day, and then it has journal entry areas. It'll take about 15 minutes a day. It's what verse hit your heart, what would it make you think about, and what action can you add to it today. And then you're able to see the 3 months together, and it's unbelievable. So you'll accomplish 4 of those throughout the year, but also give yourself grace because there's going to be the days where you miss it. But it's been amazing for me to be able to go through these things. And today I was looking at it and I was like, man, because there were some people that tuned out because I started doing Inchstones. I'll be serious with you. Some people tuned out and were like, oh man, it sounds, maybe it's a religion or it's a ritual or all these things. And I said, nah, it's just a relationship. And a lot of times when we talk about do's and don'ts, and that's a lot of times the vision point of what a person will see when they look at Proverbs or they look at wisdom or any of those things. But when we look at do's and don'ts as insight as opposed to judgment, it completely changes the feel. When you feel like you're being judged, a person saying, don't do this, don't do that, you need to do this, you instantly have the tendency, if we're in, if we see that as judgment, we have the tendency to tighten up, we defend ourselves, and then we brush off wisdom. If we take the exact same wisdom, do this, don't do that, do this, and we look at it as an insight, but insight comes from experience. And so when we look at it that way, it's unreal what can happen. So, and also too, when we look at it as insight, it will give us freedom. And most of the time, all of us are looking for that type of freedom anyway. As we go throughout our life, we want the freedom to be able to choose. We want the freedom to be able to grow our business the way that we want it to, have our relationship develop because our relationship is different or my business is different, as we say all the time, as far as entrepreneurs or, people that are in business or you're just starting a relationship, we have the tendency to say those things. So here we go in Proverbs 23. Proverbs 23 allows you to choose how you take it as far as the do's and don'ts. And I wrote in the title today, do's and that other thing, because people told me early on in my career, you can't avoid a don't. If you say, don't do this, then the person will do it because they want to prove you wrong. But so that's the reason why I did it. I wanted to do it kind of tongue in cheek that way. If you look to Proverbs 23, and I would invite all of you to read along, read it. It's maybe 30 verses or 35 verses, take about 5 minutes, possibly. And then just look at what hit you in your heart. What did it make you think of? And then what action can you add to it today? So in verse 1 through 3 and 17 through 18, I'm pressing this guy. Oh, there we go. I've got a plaud around my neck, and the plaud is an AI device, a recording device that I think every single person should use when you have conversations. It can record the conversations. Obviously, you need to let the people know that you're recording them. But if you have meetings, you have any type of dictation, anything like that, it will actually record it, and then it gives an AI translation of it, and then it'll create a summary, and it'll create however you want. It's Plaud, P-A-U-D, P-L-A-U-D, AI.com. I believe that is. They'll be sponsoring the podcast at some point, so I'm just giving them a quick shout out. But it's unbelievable. We did it at our conference. We had all of our speakers wearing the Plaud. So then that way, this AI could give people their time back the way that they wanted it to, so they could just be completely present. I did this in church the other day. I didn't want to take notes. I just wanted to test it because I take my Bible with me. I take my notes with me, and I'm constantly writing during the sermon. But I wanted to sit and just be present. So what I did is I put my Plaud around my neck. I wore it. I turned it on. I recorded the whole entire sermon, and then I got home, and it transcribed everything and gave me all the notes. What AI can you use today to be able to give you your time back? We're getting off subject with that, but I tell you, it's unbelievable how that can happen. So verse 1 through 3 in Proverbs 23 and 17 through 18 is work your land. This is a thing that I struggle with all the time. Work your land, desiring someone else's will cause pain, and comparison serves no one. I learned this with my brother. My brother would constantly tell me, like, comparison is the thief of all joy. And when we're looking at somebody else's business, somebody else's relationship, somebody else's friendship, somebody else's life, that's where we have the tendency to get into challenges. And we're in a world of comparison. And it's not that comparison didn't happen before. We had Yo MTV Raps, we had Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, but now we have it on our phone and we can scroll through and we can look at those things. But I want to encourage every one of you. You're exactly where you need to be at the exact right time. And if God needed you someplace else, He'd have you there. That's something that I heard from my pops all the time, and it would frustrate me. If that frustrates you, just think that you're taking that as judgment as opposed to insight. Insight is that I've went through it, I've experienced it, and now I'm sharing that with you. And that verse, as far as work your land, desiring someone else's will cause pain, and comparison serves no one, is in verse 1 through 3 and 17 through 18 of Proverbs 23. In verse 4 and 5, true wealth is not the size of your bank account. It's in the depth of your relationships. Now, think of this. We talked about it at the Vibe Experience just recently. And this was that membership will give you privileges, although relationships will grant you access. And when we look at the depth of our relationships, people talk about this. And again, like, I took this as judgment early on. It's not the size of your bank account. And I was like, well, yes, it is, because I come from Lompoc, California, and I grew up most of my time there, and we didn't have much, money, didn't have the coolest clothes, didn't have all those things. And I always thought that, yeah, you're saying that because you have money. When you have money, you can say that it doesn't make a difference, but when you don't have it, that's when it becomes a challenge. But again, I was taking it as judgment. I thought that the people were judging me for wanting or desiring to move towards money. And money's not a bad thing. It's a tool. But wealth is not the size of your bank account. It's the depth of your relationships. And it's crazy because the depth of your relationships can actually grow the size of your bank account. But the relationships have to be focused. You have to spend time and create those relationships. I'm very fortunate because my best friend is from 4th grade. His name is Will. You guys have heard about him before. I got another best friend since 6th grade. That's Dave. I got my best friend in the whole entire world, which is Rob, and he's been with me for life. This guy's been my protector my entire life. So in verse 6 through 8, physical food won't satisfy the spirit. And this is a large thing because I actually tried this. So again, it doesn't come from judgment. It comes from insight, experience, making a mistake, being a bonehead. But I was like, you know what? Physical food won't satisfy the spirit. Oh, I'll show you. I'm going to fill up my spirit by going and doing all these things. Well, I went and did all of them. And granted, I had a great time. We had a great run. We had a lot of time, great times in Vegas and Memphis, here in California. But what I noticed was that there was never a time, there was never a number that I got to that made me jump out of my skin. The other day, I had a video pop for 2.5 million on TikTok. Yay, that was amazing. I looked at it, but it didn't make me happy for very long. I got to share it a couple of times, but that was exciting. But you know what my mind went to? When's the next one? How can I create it again? And then, YouTube. This month, we've had, I believe, 195,000 views on our YouTube, which doesn't sound like that much to social media people, but when you're talking YouTube's one of the hardest to grow on. And so, but what I realized is that number, although it continues to grow because the little things that I put in play, the little Inchstones, not the milestones, but just the Inchstones, and it's been day after day after day. And I tell you, as far as content, it's no surprise because the content, if you've been on our social media, you've seen it. At 7 o'clock, at 9 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 9 o'clock, every single day on every single platform. That's 3 pages on Facebook, that's LinkedIn, that's Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, all of those things. I have content going out on all of them. So 7 platforms, every 2 hours we're going out. So anywhere from 35 to 40, pieces of content go out a day. That's 200 a week. That's, some or a little over 200 a week because we're doing 7 days a week. So we're thinking about 1,000 pieces of content. Are things working? Yeah, because we're working at them, but it's just inch by inch, right? And so that's what I want you to understand as we go through the do's and don'ts today. It's not coming from judgment. It's just coming from insight. But depending on how you take it, If you take it as judgment, you'll tighten up, you'll defend yourself. If you take it as insight, it'll create freedom and you'll be like, wow, I can do that too. So in verse 9, know your audience and don't throw your pearls to the swine. This is a thing that I've learned over time is sometimes I would have conversations with people. I remember one of my clients, I would have a conversation with her about AI right when it first started. Well, she was also in her late 60s, early 70s. This wasn't the conversation that I needed to be having because, you know, although it was a good conversation, I probably could have changed the subject matter because every time that I talked about AI, she tightened up and didn't want to talk about it at all. I have to know my audience. So understand and know your audience and don't get mad if you throw pearls towards the swine and they don't put it around their neck and wear it to the ball because the pig or the swine ain't going to go to the ball. So make sure of that. Just be conscious of it and, and save your energy. This is what my brother taught me a ton too. I teach a lot of, I share a lot of things that my brother teaches me and my pops teaches me, but I've also applied them. So this isn't coming from a theory. This is coming from a lot of hard knocks, a lot of hard work, and you just put it in and then it works, right? And it doesn't work because you blow up. It works because you work at it. Inchstone by inchstone, it creates the milestones. So in verse 10 through 11 is respect the past and study and learn from it. Respect the past, but you don't have to repeat it. Respect the past and honor the people who came before you. And this is a really, really big thing. Not to say that I had a lot of this when I was a young kid. As a young kid, I thought I was the first, I was the best, I was the brazen, all these things. And what I learned was there's a lot of people out there that have gone through and that they've done, made mistakes. And I can learn from those mistakes and I can take them as insight when they tell me the do's and don'ts, as opposed to taking it as judgment, which tightens me up and tells me like, oh, well, I'll show you. That doesn't do anyone any good. In verse 12 is apply wisdom's instruction, listen for it, and you will hear it. So here we go. If we fill up our heart with wisdom, which comes from the fear of God. So the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. Fear of God is the respect of God. So to respect something, you have to spend time with it. You have to hear its words, its actions. They're in line. That creates respect. That respect will open up and become the beginning of wisdom. Wisdom is the right use of knowledge. There's no reason to get knowledge unless you have wisdom. So once we get wisdom, then we get knowledge. Now we know how to use it. That knowledge will bring understanding. That understanding will bring insight. The insight will bring discretion. The discretion will bring discernment, knowing that this thing is great, but maybe it's not for me. That discretion will bring discipline into your life. The discipline will bring strength, and the strength will lead you right back to the fear or respect of God. And so when we think of that, we want to fill our heart up with as much wisdom as possible, meaning that we're spending time with God, the one who created us. So, but then he tells us, apply it, apply wisdom's instruction. Well, wisdom is the right use of knowledge. If we apply the instruction that wisdom gave us, can you imagine what would happen in our lives? And then he says, listen for it and you will hear it. Whatever you're listening for, you'll hear. This is what my wife told me. She said that people will never hear what you say. They'll never see what you do. They'll only hear where they are at. Meaning that if you're struggling financially right now, and I say something financially as far as like, take $100 a week, literally $100 a week and put it into an account in a low cost, index fund, S&P 500, and you do $100 a week, seriously, and you just do this over the course of time. If you're 20, 30, 40, 50 years old, whatever it is, you just keep doing that, things will work out. Look at the history of it. Now, if I speak about that and you're struggling financially, you're going to listen to that because that's where you're at. If I speak about, my marriage, if I speak about my kids, if I speak about whatever it is, and you're struggling in that area or you need help in that area, you're going to hear that part. People will only hear where they are at. Thank you so much, Brooklyn, for that. In verse 13 through 14, invite discipline. Invite discipline into your life, and this is probably one of the greatest things that you could do because I tell you, when discipline comes, when you did not invite it, it is not very comfortable at all. But when we look at the do's and don'ts as insight as opposed to judgment, now we're inviting discipline, saying like, I want to get better. It's so much better to go to a coach and say, I want to get better than for a coach to come and tell you, these are all the things that you did wrong, because what happens then? We see it as judgment. We get defensive. We tighten up, and then we do something that's outside of our character. Be conscious there. In verse 15 and 16, with wisdom in your heart, you will speak life and have an unfair advantage. With wisdom in your heart, it means that you spend time with God, because the beginning of all wisdom is the fear of God, which means the respect of God. And if you respect him, you spend time with him. So with wisdom in your heart, if your heart is filled up with wisdom, you will speak life. It will overflow. Whatever comes out your mouth is just overflow of your heart. So be conscious of what goes into your heart. And when you speak life to people, meaning that your heart is full of wisdom and full of love and full of compassion, and then it comes out your mouth, you'll have an unfair advantage. People will be like, oh, wow. My brother said this all the time. Like, you got a golden horseshoe. And I said, there's no golden horseshoe. I've listened to what my pops said. I listened to what my mom said. I listened to what you said, big brother Rob. You said, be good to people. You said, do the right thing. Now, I didn't do the right thing all the time, especially when it came to grades and grade school and things like that, and homework and just being a bonehead and friends sometimes, a lot of times. But I tell you, when you fill your heart up with wisdom and then it overflows out your mouth, which is speaking life to people, you just have an unfair advantage. In verse 19 through 21 is hang out. And this word is a buzzword. So some people are going to get me on this one, but I'll say it again. Hang out with clear-minded people. Now, here's the strong one that people will get me on. Hang out with sober-minded people. Now, some people will be, oh man, that's judgment. No. Let's stop for a second. I'm not saying sober just as far as alcohol. I'm saying sober as far as clear mind. And if we keep a clear mind, meaning that there's so many times that we make a decision in business and relationships and in life that our mind is not sober. Our mind is not clear. My brother said it the other day. If we make a decision, ladies, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you make a decision when you're hungry, it's not going to be a good decision. I can guarantee you, because every woman that was at the Vibe experience, we went a little bit long before lunch, and I looked in the faces of all the women, and I was like, look, we need to break for lunch, because they all knew that they were about to just get crazy. If you're hungry, most of the time you're going to make a bad decision. If you're tired, you're going to make a bad decision. If you're weary, you're going to make a bad decision. So take the time, take a breath, and hang out with sober-minded people in their personal, their professional, their spiritual, and their financial life. Sober-minded financially, sober-minded professionally, sober-minded personally, sober-minded spiritually. Or for the people who don't want to be offended, clear-minded people. In verse 22 through 25, listen and value and invest in wisdom, instruction, and insight, and never sell it. Listen and value. Like when you listen to something and you truly value it, you'll protect it, you'll guard it, but you also will apply it. So when we listen and value something, it elevates to a completely different level when we invest. And he calls us in verse 22 through 25, invest in wisdom, instruction, and insight. Wisdom, instruction, and insight, and never, ever, ever, ever sell it. In verse 28 or 26 through 28, God wants your heart, wants your heart and your eyes, because he knows what's coming. He knows what's coming ahead. That's why he gives us the do's and don'ts. He doesn't give us the do's and don'ts so we make our life horrible. And we were talking last night, and my buddy, Coach Gary, and his wife, and she is unreal. They're both incredible people. And we were talking about it, and I think that a lot of times God and religion become synonymous with each other, but they could not be more opposite. A relationship with God is a personal relationship. A religion is man's way of trying to put God in a box and say, this is the way I can get to him. God did not design our relationship to become a religion. That's when the heart goes out of it. That's the difference between, people who are freaked out on AI and people who can utilize it to be able to give them time back with the people who mean the most to them. So these menial tasks, or the tasks that can be done with AI that can give you time back with your relationships, that's good. When you start to say, oh, well, I'm going to rely on AI to communicate with all my people, that's when you're going to get into challenges. But when we look at AI and religion, right? Sometimes people utilize those things. Oh, this is my way to be able to get to this place, and I'll just use this and I'll take my heart out of it. No, what God is saying is, for a relationship to happen with me, I've just got to have a relationship with you. That's it. So listen, value, invest in wisdom, instruction, insight, and never sell it. And God wants your heart and your eyes. He wants you to guard your heart, but he wants you to fill it up with wisdom, and that wisdom will come from him because he knows what's coming. There's challenges happening. There's going to be challenges that happen. And in the event that you're weary, you're tired, or ladies, you're hungry, guess what'll happen? You'll make a decision without a sober mind. Okay, as we finish up today, watch this. He tells us the do's and don'ts because he knows that at some point we will be beat down, weary, and full of sorrow. Our defense will be weak, and that is the time when we need insight. Otherwise, we will fall victim to silliness, which is the absence of wisdom. Bang, bang, biggity, bang. When I started off on this journey with Inchstones, people would talk to me about like, oh, I don't know if you should be talking about that. That's too much. And what I said to my men's group yesterday, I said, on Easter, every single person, people that don't talk about anything, like they don't talk about God, they don't talk about anybody. On Easter or on Christmas, they're like, he is risen. Send me a cross. Send me all these things. So it's okay to talk about your relationship with God one day a year, as opposed to like, we can integrate it. We can integrate it into relationships. We can integrate it into business. We can integrate it into all those things and think about it from a principle standpoint. So watch this. Our perspective or our vantage point determines our perception, which is the way that we receive things. The do's and don'ts, when seen as judgment, tighten us up and create a defense mechanism, although when we receive the exact same information as insight, it unlocks freedom. So my question to you, which one will you choose today? Are these do's and don'ts that you'll look, and it's very strong in in Proverbs 23. It's very strong, and there are do's and don'ts. But how will you view them today? Will you view them as judgment, or will you view them as insight? Judgment, defense, tighten up, and then I'm going to do something that's outside of my character. Insight, freedom, coming from experience and helping you to unlock the purpose that is set in you right now to be able to maybe take that chance or step out and do a little bit something different. So I was on fire this morning. I'm on fire this morning. I'm so excited about this. And I tell you, when you get a chance, get the workbook or the playbook of Inchstones. I'm holding it up right now. And this will take you through 3 months, and it'll ask you what hit your heart. Just one verse. What hit your heart? Why did that heart, what did it make you think of? And what action can you add to it today? And I tell you, when you take your heart, your mind, and your skills and you put them in line, it creates an irresistible vibe. Your heart is your belief system, what you believe. Be conscious of it. What your mind is your intentions, and your hands or your skills are your actions. And when we align those things, you create a vibe that is so irresistible. And remember, guys, your vibe is not the energy that you walk into the room with. It's the way that people feel when you leave. I want to thank you all. The greatest compliment that you could ever do is share the podcast. Do that. I love you guys so much. Thank you so much for coming on the journey. My name is Kelly Cardenas. I've went over 8 minutes. Jimmy Barbour, I appreciate you a ton. Take me with you on your walk. Take me with you on your run in the morning, your car drive, whatever it is. This has been another episode of Inchstones. Tune into also the interview side. I interview some of the most iconic people in the world, and they give advice to my kids by name. And also, if you're one of my friends, you might be getting a call because I do a show called You Have to Meet My Friends. And that's where I go live and I call my friends randomly, and they don't even know they're on the podcast till they're on the podcast. So I hope you have a phenomenal, phenomenal day. My name is Kelly Cardenas, and I'm officially off the hot seat. Peace, love, and soul.
On my mind, I got to shine, so every day I grind. Work in the morning, work in the evening. We's achieving, cause we believe. believing. It's for certain, we put the work in. We ain't stopped just because it's hurting. Right before your eyes, so it's coming to no surprise. The takeover is televised. Over and over and over again. Make